So straight after varsity, I went and I started articles or training as a chartered accountant at KPMG. And we had a partner there called Steve. He was twice as tall as I was, twice as wide, but a really, really good guy. And what would happen at KPMG is frequently a client would call in and they would want us to do an assignment. It could be an audit assignment, it could be signing off a certificate, what we used to call the test function. And Steve would get us article clerks in a room and would say, guys, we can probably do this assignment for $1 million Mac dollars, but we're going to the client, I want you to keep your mouths shut, I will do all the talking. And would arrive at the client, and before anything was discussed, Steve would say to them, before we talk about this assignment, can I explain to you what a chartered accountant and an auditor does? And the client would say, absolutely. And he would say this, in South Africa, we are registered by the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. And they prescribe certain accounting standards, what they used to call AC statements. If we do an audit, if we sign off on any financial statements, we have to ensure that we have complied with every single AC statement. That's hard work. It's hard work. The second thing you would say is the challenge with AC statements is that every single country had different accounting standards. So if you looked at a company in South Africa, if you looked at a company in Nigeria, if you looked at a company in Kenya, in India, in different parts of the world, they would have their own accounting standards. So what the International Accounting Standards Board did is they introduced standards which are standard across different sets of countries, what they call international accounting standards or international financial reporting standards. And before we sign off, Steve would say, we need to make sure we've complied with IAS and IFRS. That's hard work. It's hard work. In addition to that, auditors are regulated by IRBA. That's the Independent Regulatory Board of Auditors. And they've got what we call generally accepted accounting practice and generally accepted auditing standards. Before we sign off on those, we need to make sure you've complied. That's hard work. If we are auditing the public sector, we have to take into account what the Auditor General is saying. And in addition to that, the public sector has got a different set of accounting standards, what we call GRAP, Generally Recognized Accounting Practice. That's hard work. Again, dealing with the public sector, you have to comply with any directives or circulars which come from National Treasury. There's something in South Africa called the Public Finance Management Act. For local government, there's something called the Municipal Finance Management Act. In order to sign off on your financials, Steve would say, we need to make sure you've complied with all of those directives. That's hard, hard work. Then he would stop, look at the client, and say to them, so what's your budget for this exercise? What's your budget? And the client would look back with huge eyes and they'll say, we've only got 2.5 Mac dollars, right? 2.5 million Mac dollars. And Steve would stop, look at them, shake his head. For that amount, we are simply unable to fulfill the scope and the quality of the work that we are going to effect. However, we will take you on as a new and valued client. We'll meet you halfway for 2.9 million Mac dollars. Now remember, back at the office, he had said we could probably do this for 1 million Mac dollars. What is this, folks? What have I just done to you? This is an intimidation exercise, and it works. Us chartered accountants use it all the time. We're not the only ones guilty of this. Lawyers do it, doctors do it. The worst kind of people are probably IT people. They're works of the devil when it comes to this. But I've already made my money off you, so I don't need to take any more money from you. I'm going to explain this stuff in a way that the layman can understand it, as if I was explaining it to my grandmother. She wasn't as privileged to get the education you and I have gotten, but she was a sharp cookie and she loved to learn. So let's get stuck in.